When the commissioner of a professional sports league stands at a podium and refuses to answer a simple yes or no question, you know something's deeply wrong. But when that same commissioner gets caught in what players are calling a blatant lie about their biggest star and then doubles down on it, that's when the entire foundation starts to crack. What we're witnessing right now in the WNBA isn't just a PR disaster. It's a full-blown credibility crisis that could reshape the entire league's future, and the fallout is getting messier by the day. Kathy Engelbert thought she could control the narrative. She walked into that press conference with her talking points memorized, her corporate smile practiced, and her deflection tactics ready to deploy. What she didn't count on was Nafisa Collier refusing to stay silent about what really happened behind closed doors. And now, as we head deeper into 2025 with collective bargaining negotiations heating up and player frustration at an all-time high, the lies are catching up to her faster than she can spin them. Before we dive into exactly how this all unraveled, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us whether you think Engelbert should step down, because this story is far from over and you won't want to miss what happens next. The explosion started with Nafisa Collier's exit interview, a moment that should have been about basketball but instead became a watershed moment for player advocacy. Collier didn't mince words. She revealed details of a private conversation with Commissioner Engelbert that allegedly included some shocking statements about Caitlyn Clark. According to Collier, Engelbert suggested that Clark should be grateful for the platform the WNBA provides, implying that without the league, Clark wouldn't be making the millions she earns in endorsements off the court. The phrasing Collier attributed to Engelbert was even more direct, allegedly saying players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for what the league had done for them. If true, those words represented everything wrong with the league's current leadership mentality. They suggested a fundamental misunderstanding of who actually drives the WNBA's value. It's not the corporate office, it's the players putting their bodies on the line every single night. When reporters asked Engelbert directly about these allegations, the room went silent. This was the moment for clarity. A simple denial or acknowledgement would have sufficed. Instead, Engelbert chose the path of maximum evasion. She called the reports inaccurate, but never specified what was inaccurate about them. She talked about being in touch with Collier and planning future conversations, but wouldn't address the actual substance of what was said. She mentioned the emotion and passion of collective bargaining season, as if that explained away the controversy. Every word felt calculated to avoid accountability. Reporters pressed harder, asking variations of the same question, hoping to break through the corporate speak. Did you say Caitlyn Clark should be grateful? Did you use those specific words about players being on their knees? Each time, Engelbert pivoted to talking points about supporting all players, respecting the game, and focusing on the future. It was a masterclass in saying absolutely nothing while using a lot of words. But that wasn't the whole story, because while Engelbert was busy dodging questions, the players were watching, and they weren't staying quiet. Social media exploded with current and former WNBA athletes expressing their frustration. The sentiment was clear and unified. This wasn't just about one conversation or one misquote. This was about a pattern of behavior from league leadership that made players feel undervalued and unheard. Multiple players echoed Collier's assessment that the league operates with a mentality that it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. That's a damning indictment of leadership, and it came from voices across the league, not just one disgruntled athlete. The timing made it worse. This controversy erupted during the WNBA Finals, a moment when the league should have been celebrating its pinnacle achievement. Instead, the story became about internal dysfunction and a commissioner losing the confidence of her players. What happened next would shock everyone, because the controversy didn't just stay within WNBA circles. It started reaching the NBA's attention, specifically Commissioner Adam Silver. Silver has been credited with modernizing the NBA's approach to player relations, creating an environment where athletes feel heard and valued. The contrast with Engelbert's approach couldn't be starker. While silver is known for direct communication and transparency, Engelbert's press conference showcased the opposite approach. Sources close to the situation suggest that silver and other NBA leadership, which oversees the WNBA as a subsidiary league, are monitoring the situation closely. They're reportedly concerned about the optics and the potential impact on collective bargaining negotiations. The WNBA's current collective bargaining agreement is set to expire, and these negotiations are crucial for the league's future. Players are seeking significant increases in compensation, better travel conditions, improved health and safety protocols, and more investment in the league's infrastructure. Entering these negotiations with players openly distrusting the commissioner creates a toxic environment that makes productive bargaining nearly impossible. The Caitlyn Clark angle makes this situation even more explosive. Clark, who entered the WNBA as the most hyped rookie in league history, has been a lightning rod for attention throughout her young career. When she was playing earlier this season, she drew record crowds and television ratings. Her impact on WNBA visibility and revenue is undeniable. But here's where the situation gets complicated. Clark has been dealing with injuries this season, missing several games and limiting her impact when she does play. The physical toll of the WNBA season, combined with the target on her back from opponents who resent the attention she receives, has made her rookie campaign more challenging than many anticipated. For Engelbert to allegedly suggest that Clark should be more grateful for the WNBA platform ignores the reality that Clark has done as much for the league as the league has done for her. Maybe more. Clark's endorsement deals with major brands like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm were secured because of her talent, personality, and marketability. The WNBA provided the platform, yes, but Clark provided the star power that made brands want to invest. It's a symbiotic relationship, not a one-way street where players owe everything to the league. The injury epidemic sweeping through the WNBA this season adds another layer to this controversy. According to injury tracking databases, WNBA injuries were up by more than 30% compared to previous seasons. That's a staggering increase that demands serious attention and action. When reporters asked Engelbert about this trend during the same press conference, her response was telling. She acknowledged that the game has become bigger, faster, stronger, and attributed some of the injury increase to improved athleticism and physicality, but she framed it almost as an inevitable consequence of progress, rather than as a crisis requiring immediate intervention. Players see it differently. They point to factors like inadequate rest between games, commercial flights that leave them cramped and exhausted, insufficient medical staff and resources, and officiating that allows dangerous plays to go uncalled. These aren't just complaints. They're legitimate concerns about player health and safety that the league has been slow to address. When Sophie Cunningham, now playing for the Indiana Fever after her move from Phoenix, spoke about the physical demands of the season, she emphasized how the lack of support systems makes injuries more likely and recovery more difficult. Cunningham has been a vocal advocate for better working conditions throughout her career, and she's not alone in that fight. The officiating controversy ties directly into both the injury concerns and the broader trust issues with league leadership. Players have been increasingly vocal about inconsistent and inadequate officiating that allows physical play to escalate into dangerous situations. When fouls aren't called consistently, players get hurt. It's that simple. But when players raise these concerns, they often feel dismissed by league officials who seem more concerned about the product on the floor than the people playing the game. Engelbert's response to questions about officiating during the press conference followed the same pattern as her other answers. She acknowledged the concern, promised to evaluate where the line should be drawn, and then moved on without committing to any specific changes. For players watching, it felt like more of the same empty promises they've heard before. The frustration is building because players see a disconnect between the league's public messaging and its private actions. Publicly, the WNBA celebrates its athletes and promotes empowerment. Privately, According to multiple players, the league operates with a top-down mentality that treats athletes as interchangeable parts rather than the core asset driving growth. This brings us to the heart of why this controversy matters so much. The WNBA is at a critical juncture in its history. Viewership is up, attendance is rising, sponsorship deals are increasing. The league has momentum it's never had before. But all of that growth is fragile. It depends on the players continuing to deliver excellence on the court while also serving as ambassadors. If players lose faith in leadership, if they feel disrespected and undervalued, that enthusiasm dims. The energy changes. And fans can feel it. The upcoming collective bargaining negotiations will determine whether the WNBA capitalizes on this moment of growth or squanders it. Players are entering these negotiations with clear demands and high expectations. They've watched the NBA's revenue and player salaries skyrocket over the past decade. They've seen how proper investment and respect for athletes can transform a league. And they're tired of being told to be grateful for crumbs when they're the ones generating the value. Engelbert's leadership is now under a microscope like never before. Her attempt to dismiss Collier's allegations as inaccurate without providing specifics backfired spectacularly. Instead of quieting the controversy, she amplified it by making it clear she wasn't willing to be transparent. The moment during the press conference when she said she's not a quitter particularly rubbed people the wrong way. Nobody had asked her to quit at that point. They'd asked her to be honest and accountable. By framing herself as a victim of unfair criticism rather than a leader facing legitimate concerns, she further eroded trust. The comment about her children being devastated by the controversy also struck many as tone-deaf. While it's understandable that negative attention affects families, using her children as a shield from accountability felt manipulative to many observers. Players deal with criticism and scrutiny constantly, often with far less support and resources than a commissioner making millions of dollars annually. The comparison between Engelbert's corporate polish and Collier's raw authenticity couldn't be more stark. When Collier spoke during her exit interview, she wasn't reading from talking points. She was speaking from experience, frustration, and genuine concern for the league's future. She talked about going to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value the players wearing it. She called out what she sees as the worst leadership in the world despite having the best players and fans. Those words carried weight because they came from someone living the reality, not observing it from an executive suite. Other players quickly rallied around Collier's message. The unity among players on this issue is remarkable and should be deeply concerning to league leadership. When athletes across teams, backgrounds, and career stages all express the same frustrations, it's not a communication problem, it's a leadership problem. The role of Adam Silver and NBA leadership in this situation remains somewhat unclear, but potentially significant. The NBA has invested in the WNBA since its inception, providing financial support and operational guidance. Silver has been more publicly supportive of the WNBA than previous NBA commissioners, frequently attending games and promoting the league's growth. But support and oversight are different things. If Silver and NBA leadership believe Engelbert's approach is damaging the WNBA's relationship with its players and threatening its growth trajectory, they have the authority to intervene. That could mean anything from private conversations about changing her approach to more drastic measures if the situation continues to deteriorate. Some observers have speculated that Engelbert's job security may depend on how collective bargaining negotiations proceed. If the relationship between players and league leadership is so damaged that reaching an agreement becomes impossible, that's a failure of leadership that can't be ignored. The broader implications of this controversy extend beyond one commissioner or one conversation. This is about power dynamics in women's professional sports. For decades, female athletes have been told to be grateful for whatever opportunities they're given, even when those opportunities pale in comparison to what male athletes receive. The WNBA has made significant progress, but that gratitude mentality still lurks in the background. When Engelbert allegedly told players they should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars, whether she used those exact words or not, she was echoing a mindset that women athletes have been fighting against forever. The idea that players should be grateful for the platform rather than recognized as the reason the platform has value is fundamentally disrespectful. Caitlyn Clark doesn't owe the WNBA her success. The WNBA and Clark have a mutually beneficial relationship where both parties gain value. The same is true for every player in the league. They provide their talent, time, and bodies. The league provides structure, competition, and visibility. It's a partnership, not a favor. As we move deeper into 2025, the pressure on Engelbert continues to mount. The press conference that was supposed to calm the waters instead confirmed players' worst fears about how leadership views them. The refusal to provide straight answers created more questions than it resolved, and the defensive posture suggested someone more concerned with protecting her position than addressing legitimate concerns. Players are watching closely to see what happens next. Will there be meaningful changes to officiating? Will injury prevention become a real priority with resources to match? Will collective bargaining negotiations happen in good faith with genuine respect for players' concerns? Or will it be more corporate speak and empty promises? The answer to those questions will determine not just Engelbert's future, but the WNBA's trajectory during this critical growth period. Before we wrap up, let's talk about what you think. Should Kathy Engelbert step down as WNBA Commissioner? Do you believe Nafisa Collier's account of their conversation? And how should the league address the injury crisis and officiating concerns? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on because this situation is evolving rapidly and we'll be covering every development. Hit that like button if you want to see more coverage of what's really happening in the WNBA beyond just the highlights. The truth is, this controversy represents a crossroads for the WNBA. The league can either listen to its players, make meaningful changes, and capitalize on unprecedented momentum, or it can continue with business as usual and watch that momentum evaporate as players lose faith in leadership. Engelbert's press conference suggested she's chosen the second path, at least for now. But the players aren't backing down. They've found their voice, and they're using it. The collective power of athletes speaking in unity is formidable, and it's something league leadership ignores at their peril. What happens in the coming months will shape the WNBA for years to come. Will it be a league where players feel valued, respected, and empowered? Or will it continue to operate with a top-down mentality that treats athletes as assets to be managed rather than partners in building something special? The answer starts with accountability, transparency, and leadership willing to admit when they've gotten it wrong. So far, we haven't seen that from Kathy Engelbert. And until we do, this controversy will continue to overshadow everything else happening in the league. The players have spoken. Now it's time to see if anyone in the executive suite is actually listening.